For those of you who don't know who I am, which I just want to make it clear that I am John Michalski, the son of Michael Michalski. I'm going to preface this by saying that I don't have this grandiose story of my dad that changed my life. In fact, for all 19 years that I've been on this earth, my relationship with him wasn't one filled with these epic stories about his work or adventures with me and our family. Rather, it was filled with many smaller events. Usually he and I would be at some diner or restaurant together, talking about whatever was on our minds that day. Sometimes we'd be on walks with my dog, admiring the scenery and discussing life. Other times we'd be inside the house discussing TV or movies, and still other times we'd be in his truck, and he and I would share all the weird and wacky stories that would come from our workplaces. I think it's symbolic in a way because my dad wasn't the kind of person who seemed fond of huge parties or events. He never went into work seeking to be this great hero for everyone to love and admire, and he never acted around others as though he was of some higher importance. He went about his business with the goal of doing what he signed up to do, work hard, come home, and treat those around him with the same love and generosity that they showed to him. In fact, if he could have had any say in how today would have gone, this wouldn't be what he would have imagined. I would argue that his down-to-earth approach is what makes for not only a great police officer, but also a great person in general. And I believe that over time, his manner of conducting himself rubbed off quite a bit on me. I have greater appreciation for the smaller get-togethers that I have with family and friends than, say, several years ago. I am more content with the material items that I have right now than before. Nowadays, I don't try to think too hard about a bigger house or bed or a nicer computer. These are nice things to have for the future, but what I have right now is just fine. And I also learned from him to be satisfied with doing the right thing because it was the right thing and not because I'd get some reward out of it. Which leads me into something that sounds simple on paper but is incredibly important in concept. It is in my belief that the most important thing that my dad gave me was, put simply, himself. And by himself, I mean a father figure that I could look up to as a role model and use him as an example for how I should behave around others and live life. As of right now, there are many kids in the world today who are without fathers in their lives for many different reasons. My dad was a strict man around me at times, but each and every time I knew that he acted that way because he cared, and he always wanted me to be the best person that I could be. My dad was always there, if solely to exist in my life. Even if we weren't interacting in the current moment, him being in the same room or building was enough for me to feel grateful that I could walk on this earth and never for a second doubt that my father would not be in my life. Now he's gone. I'm still coming to terms with the fact that the man who I admired and loved since day one is no longer with us. It's very likely that I will still be struggling to come to terms with it for the rest of my life. I can't help but feel as though there was so much left for me to learn from him, so many more experiences that I've yet to undergo with him. But one thing that I know that my dad wouldn't want me to do is draw the finish line here at his funeral. I know he'd want me to keep my head up high and keep moving forward in life, no matter what it throws at me. And that is what I plan to do for however many more years I have left on this earth. And I would argue that he did not pass without leaving his mark on all of us. To name a few of the things that he has done for people, many years back he'd coached my brother Josh's basketball team. He and my mom volunteered to support people at summer camps with muscular dystrophy. He'd mow lawns and shovel snow for our neighbors even when they didn't ask him for help. During the years that I was in elementary school, he'd participate in school events, act as a chaperone on field trips, and be a frequent visitor to any special events that occurred there. During high school, whenever my friends came over to the house, he'd offer to order pizza for us and help us with starting a bonfire or two. And whenever Mom and I were out of town for a few days or more, he did everything in his power to make sure all of the animals at home remained alive and healthy and ensure that the house remained standing. There are definitely many more that I have not listed here, but from what I have shared, I believe it is fair to say that he had some effect on everyone who he met during the 52 years that he has been on this earth. And over this past week, I have been flooded with numerous stories about my dad that I have heard from the people who worked with him. I've been told about how so many people looked up to him and how they tried their hardest to live up to his examples as both an officer and as a human being. People have shared with me that he had such a wonderful way with words and that he could diffuse a hostile situation and resolve conflict without a shot fired or a speck of blood shed. I was particularly blown away when I was told that he went out of his way to help a fellow officer in a time of need and convinced him not to take his own life. To reiterate something that Pastor Grove said, his ability to give us all a good laugh reminded us that we could still have fun and enjoy a bit of nonsense. His laugh was quite contagious. I will be one to agree on that. We laughed simply because he was laughing. It is these things that define a man who did so much for the people in his life and asked for so little in return. So I will leave you on this note. He left this life doing his duty for his community, for his coworkers, and his family and friends. And the more we keep his memory in our hearts and minds, and the more we try to live up to the example that he showed us, the better we can make life for ourselves and the people who we share this world with. And from his loss, hopefully, we can make the world a better place for future generations to come. I'm going to miss you, Dad.